Alien. Storm of the Xenomorph. The planet was an untamed beast in the void, its surface cloaked in a shroud of storm clouds, their edges illuminated by the vicious dance of lightning. The Harbinger, a vessel with scars from countless salvage missions, floated in low orbit, its engines barely a whisper against the tempest below. Quinn, standing at the helm with a gaze as sharp as the blade she kept concealed in her boot, felt the familiar itch of danger. Her blue eyes, usually a beacon of confidence for her crew, now flickered with an unspoken unease. She had led this crew through the jaws of death and back, yet this mission, this planet, whispered warnings in her mind. "That's our target." She voiced her words, a counterpoint to the storm's roar. Damon, the embodiment of corporate indifference, sat at the console, his fingers dancing over the datapad. His eyes, cold and calculating, didn't lift as he responded. "The station's half underwater now. Time hasn't been kind. But the cargo's there, and that's what we're here for." Richards, the pilot with a penchant for black humour, managed a laugh that sounded more like a choke. "Looks like we're diving into the eye of a hurricane on steroids." His hands moved over the controls with a familiarity born from years of flirting with disaster. Riley, the young scientist whose intellect belied her years, pushed her glasses up her nose, her brow furrowed with concern. "The station's been like this for months. What could have survived down there?" Her voice was a mix of curiosity and dread, her mind already racing through the possibilities. Caleb and Jenna, partners in every sense of the word, stood close. Both bore the marks of their military past, now channeled into the life of salvage. Jenna, her hand tightly clasped in Caleb's, whispered, "Why does it feel like every mission steps closer to the edge?" "Because we're chasing the biggest score of our lives," Caleb replied, his voice carrying a weight of determination, mixed with a touch of irony. He had promised Jenna this would be their last run, a ticket to a life far from the shadows of their past. Quinn turned her gaze from the storm to her crew, her voice steady but laced with command. "No risks. We go in, secure the cargo, and leave. Understood?" Her eyes lingered on Eva, the ship's medic, whose presence was both comforting and enigmatic. Eva's calm was almost alien, her expression unreadable. "I'm here for the team," she said, her voice devoid of any hint of the chaos they were about to enter. Richards began the descent, and the ship vibrated, each shudder a testament to the storm's fury. "This isn't just a storm. It's like we're entering the maw of some ancient beast," he muttered, his focus razor-sharp on the controls as they plunged into the planet's atmosphere. The Harbinger groaned under the assault of the wind, the viewport offering glimpses of the tempest's wrath. Lightning strikes painted a terrifying tableau of the half-submerged station, its lights flickering like the last breaths of a dying giant. Quinn felt the ship buck beneath her feet, her heart beating in sync with the rhythm of danger. She glanced at her team, each face reflecting a mix of resolve and apprehension. This was more than just another salvage. It was a dance with death they had all signed up for, but this time, the dance seemed more perilous than ever. The Harbinger cut through the planet's stormy atmosphere like a blade through flesh, each gust of wind a scream against its hull. Alarms blared throughout the ship, their cacophony a testament to the peril outside. The vessel shuddered, a living thing fighting to stay aloft amidst the tempest's wrath. In the cockpit, Richards wrestled with the controls, his knuckles white, his face a mask of concentration. Sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the chill of fear that permeated the air. "This isn't just turbulence, it's like the planet itself is trying to shake us off," he shouted over the din, his voice tinged with the edge of panic. Quinn stood steadfast behind him, her body swaying with the ship's violent motions, but her voice calm, a lighthouse in the storm. "Hold it together, Richards. You've flown through worse. Not through a hurricane over an ocean," he shot back, his focus unwavering, but his tone betraying the strain of the moment. In the crew quarters, the others strapped themselves in, the tension palpable. Jenna's hand was locked in Caleb's, her face pale, her eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes from knowing the end might be near. "Why does every mission feel like we're tempting fate more than the last?" she asked, her voice a whisper against the ship's clamour. Caleb forced a smile, trying to inject some semblance of normalcy into their dire situation. "Because we're good at it, remember? After this we disappear, just you and me. No more salvage, no more storms." Jenna returned his smile, weakly nodding. Her mind, however, was racing with scenarios of what could go wrong, the images of past missions where friends didn't return flashing before her eyes. Nearby, Damon sat with an eerie calm, his fingers tapping on his tablet, reviewing data as if they were not descending into a maelstrom but rather sitting in a boardroom. "We're here for the cargo. Let's not lose sight of why we're risking our lives," he stated, his voice cutting through the tension like a cold blade. Riley, her scientific curiosity momentarily overshadowed by survival instincts, shot him a glare. "Oh, yeah. We'll be sure to keep the company's interests in mind while trying not to drown." Eva, the medic, maintained her usual composure, checking her medical kit with methodical precision. Her eyes, however, darted to the ship's movements, her mind seemingly calculating every possible outcome. Her calm was unsettling, a stark contrast to the chaos around them. The ship lurched violently as a rogue gust slammed into it, sending sparks flying from the console, the overhead lights flickering in a dance of light and dark. Richards cursed under his breath, his focus razor-sharp. "We're almost there, just hold on." Through the viewport, the research station came into view, a hulking, jagged structure, partially swallowed by the ocean, its once bright lights now a dim, flickering beacon in the storm. Waves crashed against its sides, the water an angry dark force intent on reclaiming what was once land. "Landing zones tight," Richards announced, his voice strained. "There's a docking platform still intact, but it's barely above water. I'll have to set us down manually." Quinn gripped the back of his chair, her voice firm through the chaos. "You can do it, Richards. Just get us close enough to tether if you have to." The ship groaned, the landing gear struggling to find purchase on the slick, unstable platform. A deep rumble echoed through the hull as the engines powered down, the storm's fury a relentless roar around them. "Touchdown," Richards exhaled, his relief palpable but short-lived. "But this place is falling apart. We won't have much time." Quinn turned to her crew, her voice cutting through the noise like a command from the gods. "All right, we're here. Everyone stay sharp. Damon, Riley, Caleb, you're with me. Jenna, Eva, stay on comms and monitor from the ship. Richards, keep her ready for a fast exit if we need it." Damon adjusted his jacket, his expression one of impatience rather than concern. "Let's hope this cargo is worth the trouble." Quinn's response was sharp, her eyes locking with his. "Let's hope we all make it back alive." As the crew gathered their gear, the wind howled outside, a sound like the planet's own voice warning of the dangers within. The hatch opened with a hiss, the storm's rain and wind assaulting them with a ferocity that seemed personal. The platform beneath their feet creaked ominously, the station a silent sentinel to their arrival, its dark corridors promising both salvation and doom. "Move out," Quinn commanded, leading the way onto the swaying platform, her resolve as unyielding as the storm itself. The platform beneath their feet groaned under the weight of the storm, each step a challenge against the wind's relentless push. Rain beat down on them, not just water, but a barrage that seemed intent on driving them back into the ship's safety. Damon, his suit slick with rain, raised his voice over the storm. "I assume this delightful weather wasn't in the mission briefing." Quinn, her hair whipping around her face, shot back. "No one said this would be a walk in the park. Let's move." She pointed towards the looming bulkhead door, a relic of the station's better days, now marred with dents and peeling paint. "Caleb, take point." Caleb, his rifle at the ready, moved cautiously towards the entry. The door, a giant slab of metal, had been forced open, the damage suggesting a violent past. "Looks like they were either trying to get out or something was trying to get in," he noted, his voice low, the words carried away by the wind. Riley, clutching her scanner, added, "Or both." Her eyes darted around, her mind already piecing together the story of the station's fall. Damon scoffed. "Let's not start with ghost stories. We have a job to do." Caleb approached the access panel, gesturing for the others to stay back. The panel, covered in salt and corrosion, flickered to life under his touch, casting a dim green glow over his features. With a moment's hesitation, he keyed in a command, and the door responded with a screech, protesting as it slid open to reveal a dark, waterlogged corridor. The smell hit them first, a wet, metallic tang mixed with something far more sinister like decay had taken root in the very walls. Riley wrinkled her nose, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. "Smells like death in here." Quinn led the way, her flashlight's beam sweeping across the walls, revealing the extent of the damage. "Stay close. Stay alert. Riley, see if you can tell us what happened here." The group moved cautiously, their boots sloshing through shallow pools of seawater, the sound echoing in the confined space. Water dripped from above, a constant reminder of the storm outside. Damon muttered something about hazard pay, his disdain for the conditions transparent. Riley, scanning the walls with her device, said, "Structural integrity is compromised. This station's been through hell. We're lucky it's still standing." Eva followed silently, her eyes moving in a way that suggested she was memorizing every detail of their surroundings. Caleb, catching her gaze, tried to lighten the mood. Creepy, huh? Don't worry, we've got your back. Eva's response was measured, her voice as calm as still water. I'm not worried. Quinn suddenly stopped, signaling for silence. She crouched, her light revealing a dark stain on the floor. Blood, she said, her tone dropping to a whisper. Riley joined her, her scanner beeping softly in the quiet. Fresh enough. Whatever happened here, it wasn't long ago. Let's hope it's nothing we can't handle, Damon said, adjusting his jacket, trying to maintain some semblance of control over the situation. Quinn shot him a look that could cut steel. We're here to recover the cargo, not take unnecessary risks. Keep your eyes open, Damon. The corridor led to another bulkhead, this one partially ajar, revealing a faint hum of machinery from beyond. Caleb pushed it wider, revealing a vast cargo loading bay. The heart of the station's operations now a scene of disarray. Looks like we've found the main hub, Quinn said, stepping into the room, her flashlight revealing crates and equipment scattered in chaos. A large console at the room's end flickered sporadically, sparks occasionally jumping from its circuits. What a mess, Riley muttered, moving to inspect one of the crates. She brushed away debris, uncovering the Weyland-Yutani logo, a stark reminder of who they were working for. Damon's interest was piqued at the sight. There's the company's mark. This must be where they stored it. Caleb raised an eyebrow, his voice skeptical. Goods? You mean the cargo? You don't even know what's in these, do you? Damon didn't respond, moving instead to the console. He tapped a few keys, the screen coming to life in fits and starts. Logs are partially corrupted, but there's something here. Looks like the cargo was organic. High-priority specimen transfer. That's vague, Riley said, standing up, her eyes scanning the room, trying to piece together the puzzle. Quinn glanced at Damon, her patience wearing thin. Anything else? Not yet, Damon replied, his focus on the screen. Systems unstable. I'll need time to extract more. Quinn nodded. Fine. Riley, Caleb, keep searching for clues. Damon, keep working on that console. Eva and I will check the adjoining rooms. As they spread out, the station seemed to pulse around them, the hum of the machinery almost like a heartbeat. The air was thick with anticipation, each noise, each shadow, a potential threat. Water dripped steadily, a rhythmic counterpoint to their movements, the station's very framework creaking under the storm's relentless assault. Quinn, Riley's voice came through the comm, her tone uneasy. This section looks off. There's damage here, but it's not just structural. Something's not right. Define off, Quinn replied, her voice sharp, directing Eva to stabilize the damaged systems in another room. I don't know, Caleb interjected over the comm. Looks organic, like something was alive down here. Keep looking, Quinn ordered, but don't touch anything. Damon's status. Still nothing on the cargo manifest? Damon answered from his position. If we could get the damn mainframe online, I could just keep looking, Quinn cut him off, her mind already racing with the implications of their findings. The salvage area was a cathedral of decay, its walls dripping with the remnants of the storm's fury, the air heavy with the smell of seawater and a more sinister organic scent. Water lapped at their ankles as Caleb and Riley navigated through the twisted wreckage. Caleb's flashlight beam danced over the debris, revealing streaks of what looked like veins spread across the metal, a grotesque mimicry of life. It doesn't look like this stuff came from the crash, Caleb muttered, his voice a low whisper, his unease palpable in the dim light. He pointed at the organic residue, a mixture of curiosity and caution in his eyes. Riley, her focus on the task at hand, was drawn to a cargo pod lodged between two pieces of twisted steel, its surface still intact. This has to be it, she said, her voice catching slightly. Whatever we're supposed to recover, it's in here. Caleb moved closer, his curiosity fighting with his survival instincts. He wiped away grime from the control panel, examining the interface before meeting Riley's gaze. Think it's worth a fortune, like they said? What are we risking our necks for? Riley hesitated, a shadow crossing her features. Does it matter? We do the job, we get paid, that's it. Caleb smirked, his bravado a cover for his nerves. Yeah, but don't you want to know what's so damn special about it? Without waiting for an answer, he pulled the release lever. The pod hissed, a cloud of steam escaping, the sound echoing through the chamber like a warning. The hatch creaked open slowly, revealing its contents in the dim, flickering light. Inside, a large, leathery object stood upright, its surface slick and pulsating faintly as if in breath. What the hell is that? Riley whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. An egg, Caleb said, stepping closer, a nervous chuckle escaping him. His breath fogged in the humid air as he peered at the egg, its surface glistening with moisture. "Don't get too close," Riley warned, her hand shooting out to pull him back by the arm. "We don't know what they are," but curiosity was stronger than caution for Caleb. "Relax, it's just sitting there. Maybe it's some kind of exotic plant. Expensive fertilizer." His laugh was weak, the sound hollow in the vast, echoing space. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the egg's surface. The top of the egg began to unfurl with a sickening, wet sound, the movement like the blooming of something both beautiful and horrifying. A faint, hissing noise filled the air, making the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. Caleb froze, his heart racing as he tried to step back, his breath caught in his throat. Too late. With terrifying speed, a creature lunged from within the egg. The facehugger struck Caleb, its spindly legs wrapping around his head, its tail coiling around his neck with lethal precision. His scream was muffled by the creature's grip, his arms flailing in panic. Riley's scream pierced the silence, high-pitched and filled with terror. "Caleb!" She rushed to him, hands trembling as she tried to pull the creature off, but its grip was unyielding, its body disturbingly strong. "Quinn! Richards! Anyone!" Riley screamed into her comm, her voice breaking with desperation. "Caleb's down!" Quinn's voice crackled through the static, sharp and commanding. "Riley, get out of there now!" Riley hesitated, her eyes wide with horror as she looked at Caleb. His body now limp, the face hugger a grotesque mask upon him. I can't just leave him," she cried, her voice a mix of sorrow and fear. "You have to," Quinn snapped, urgency in every syllable. "Get back to the others, move!" Riley's chest tightened, the fight-or-flight instinct clawing at her. Her breathing was ragged as she backed away, tears streaming down her face. Her hands shook, and her heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the danger they were in. The water around her ankles was rising, the flooding in the room growing more pronounced with each passing second. She stumbled, nearly dropping her flashlight as the hissing noise grew louder, a sound like death closing in, echoing off the walls. She choked back a sob, her footsteps faltering as she left Caleb behind, her mind reeling from the horror of what she had witnessed. This place was no longer just abandoned, it was alive with something far worse, and she was running out of time. Riley stumbled back through the salvage area, her breaths coming in ragged gasps, the weight of what had just happened crushing her. Quinn's urgent voice still echoed in her ears, but the reality of Caleb's situation was an anchor, dragging her down into despair. Behind her, the sound of Caleb's struggle had turned to silence. The facehugger still latched onto him with deadly intent. The click of boots against the metal floor announced Quinn's arrival, her flashlight slicing through the steam and water like a beacon. Eva followed, her rifle ready, her expression as grim as the setting around them. "Where's Caleb?" Quinn demanded, her voice tight with control but laced with dread. Riley, tears streaming down her face, pointed back the way she came. "The thing, it's on him. I couldn't..." Her hands trembled, her face buried in her palms as she fought back sobs. Quinn moved swiftly past her, signaling for Eva to stay close. The dark salvage area seemed to close in around them, the twisted metal and the eerie, pulsing eggs creating an atmosphere of malevolence. There against the wall, Caleb lay motionless. The facehugger was still coiled around his head, its tail a noose around his neck, pulsing as if it had a life of its own. "Shit," Quinn muttered under her breath, a curse that carried the weight of their grim reality. She crouched down, her flashlight beam scanning the creature. It twitched, sensing her presence, the fingers of the facehugger moving with a life of their own. Eva's voice was strained when she spoke. "Quinn, what's the plan?" Quinn didn't answer immediately, her mind racing through options, none of which were good. "We can't remove it," she finally said, her tone firm with the burden of leadership. "Not without killing him," Riley's voice broke through her despair. "We can't leave him like this. He's still alive. We have to do something." Quinn stood up, meeting Riley's gaze with a look of resolve. "And what would you have us do, Riley? You saw what it did to him. You want us to risk the entire crew trying to save him, not knowing what that thing's doing?" Riley shook her head, frantic. "There has to be a way." "There isn't." Quinn's voice was cold, her decision made. "We secure the area. We figure out our next move. Eva, keep an eye on him. We need to know if this thing does whatever it's going to do." Eva nodded, her expression betraying none of her thoughts. "Got it." Quinn placed a hand on Riley's shoulder, the gesture meant to comfort, but her eyes remained hard. "I'm sorry, Riley, but right now, we need to stay alive. Caleb would have wanted that." Riley didn't respond, her eyes fixed on Caleb's still form, the reality of the situation sinking in like a stone in water. Later, the team had gathered in the medbay, the air thick with tension, and the faint smell of antiseptic now mingling with the scent of fear. Eva sat at the table, her movements precise as she examined samples of the organic material from the salvage site. Her demeanor was too perfect, too controlled for someone in such a situation. "This residue isn't natural," Eva stated, her voice calm and methodical. "It's organic, but nothing like we've seen before. If that thing is what laid the eggs, it's unlike any life form we've encountered." Quinn leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her face etched with the fatigue of leadership. "Can you figure out what it's doing to Caleb?" Eva paused, her eyes meeting those of the others with a measured look. "If I had to guess, it's implanting something. A parasite, maybe. Removing it could kill him. Leaving it might do the same, but at a slower rate." Richards paced the room, his rifle slung over his shoulder, his agitation palpable. "So what? We just wait for him to die?" "No," Quinn snapped, her patience thin. "We prep for the worst. If that thing gets loose, it could kill us all." "Caleb's not dead yet," Jenna interjected, her voice shaky but defiant, her eyes red from unshed tears. "I know," Quinn said, rubbing her temples, frustration mingling with her resolve. "And I'm not giving up on him, but we can't ignore what's at stake here." Damon, who had been silent, leaned back in his chair, his eyes cold and detached from the human drama unfolding. "This isn't about Caleb," he said, his voice flat. "The mission is clear. Recover the cargo. That hasn't changed." Jenna's fists clenched, her voice rising in anger. "Are you serious? Caleb is dying and you're still focused on the damn mission. Enough!" Quinn's voice cut through the tension like a knife, commanding silence. She straightened up, her presence filling the room. "We're not leaving him behind. But we're not going in blind either. Everyone needs to focus. Damon, if you can't help, stay out of the way." Damon's smirk was cold, but he said nothing, leaning further back as if the fate of the crew was merely a minor inconvenience to him. The medbay was steeped in tense silence, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems and the erratic beeping of the medical monitors. Caleb lay on the examination table, his body eerily still, the face hugger a grim sentinel upon him. Jenna hadn't left his side, her hands clutching his limp ones, her face streaked with worry and the remnants of tears. Ava stood nearby, her eyes on Caleb's vitals, her expression inscrutable. "His heart rate is erratic," she said, her voice devoid of emotion but laced with an undercurrent of unease. "Whatever this thing is doing, it's accelerating." Quinn paced near the doorway, her gaze occasionally darting to the monitors or the door, her mind racing with scenarios and plans. The crew, weapons at the ready, stood in the periphery, their tension palpable, their eyes reflecting the fear of the unknown. "Ava, any idea what happens next?" Quinn's voice broke the silence, her tone a blend of command and concern. Ava glanced back, her face a mask of professional detachment. "If I were to guess, it's gestating something, and when it's done..." She let the sentence hang, the implication heavy in the air. Richards tightened his grip on his rifle, his voice low but urgent. "We should end this now. Kill it before it kills him." "No!" Jenna shot to her feet, her body positioning itself protectively over Caleb. "We're not giving up on him." Quinn's voice was soft but firm, a stark contrast to Jenna's rising panic. "Jenna, Richards isn't wrong. If that thing gets out, he's still alive." Jenna's voice cracked with emotion. "We can save him. We have to try." Before Quinn could respond, a wet, choking sound escaped from Caleb. Everyone in the room froze, their breath held in collective anticipation. "Caleb?" Jenna whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of hope and fear. Caleb's body convulsed, his back arching violently off the table, the facehugger detached with a sickening squelch, sliding to the floor and curling into a lifeless ball. "He's free!" Jenna cried, relief washing over her features. But the moment of hope was short-lived. Caleb's chest heaved, his breath shallow and erratic. Then a crack, a sound like bones snapping under pressure, followed by the wet, horrifying sound of flesh tearing. "No, no, no, no!" Jenna screamed, blood splattering across her face as something burst from Caleb's chest. A small, serpentine creature, slick with blood, emerged with a shrill screech that tore through the medbay, shattering the silence. Its translucent skin was a grotesque sight, its movements swift and predatory. "Jesus Christ!" Richards raised his rifle, but the creature was too fast, darting off the table and into the shadows before he could fire. "Damn it, Richards, don't shoot in here!" Quinn barked, her tone sharp with command. Jenna stumbled back, horror etched into every line of her face, collapsing to the floor as she sobbed uncontrollably. Caleb's lifeless body slumped back, blood continuing to pool beneath him. Quinn stepped forward, her expression grim, assessing the situation. Richards, secure the exits. Damon, get the schematics. Find out where that thing could have gone. Damon glanced at Jenna, his face impassive, devoid of any empathy. And what about her? Quinn shot him a look that could freeze blood. I'll handle her. Just do your damn job. Eva moved cautiously towards Caleb's body, her expression unreadable as she examined the lifeless form. Whatever just happened, it's only the beginning. Later, in the corridor, the crew moved through the narrow, dimly lit corridors, their flashlights casting long, eerie shadows that seemed to shift with every step. The air felt oppressive, charged with the aftermath of what they had just witnessed. Richards took the lead, rifle at the ready, his eyes scanning every corner for signs of the creature. Quinn and Damon followed, their movements tense, every sound magnified in the quiet of the ship. This ship is a damn maze, Damon muttered, checking the schematic on his handheld device. That's why you're here, Quinn replied sharply. Make yourself useful. A distant clatter echoed down the corridor, causing everyone to freeze in place. What the hell was that? Richards whispered, his finger hovering over the trigger. Quinn gestured for silence, her eyes scanning the darkness ahead. Stay sharp. It's out there. The silence was thick. Each breath they took was a testament to their fear and resolve. The hunt had begun, not just for survival, but to confront the horror that had now made their ship its home. The corridors of the Harbinger felt like the arteries of a dying beast, the silence broken only by the echo of their footsteps and the distant roar of the storm outside. Emergency lights flickered erratically, casting long shadows that danced with every move, turning the familiar into something alien and foreboding. Quinn signaled for the group to halt, her eyes locked on a smear of blood that painted the wall, a grim trail left by the creature. It came through here, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath, the tension in her tone palpable. Damon, clutching his handheld device tighter, kept glancing over his shoulder, his eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes when one realizes they're no longer the predator. How can it already be moving so fast? It just hatched. Xenomorphs grow quickly, Eva said, her voice betraying no emotion, her words slicing through the tension. She spoke with an eerie calmness, which only served to unsettle the others further. It's built to survive. Fast growth is a survival mechanism. Richards narrowed his eyes, skepticism and fear mingling in his gaze. How the hell do you know that? Eva hesitated, her eyes meeting Richards with an unreadable glance. Educated guess, based on its physiology. It's not my first rodeo with alien biology. Quinn looked at her, suspicion flickering in her gaze, but she kept her thoughts to herself. There were too many questions about Eva's knowledge, but now wasn't the time. Instead, she gave a curt nod. Richards, take point. Damon, stay behind him. Everyone else, stay sharp. They moved forward, the ship's metal groaning under the weight of the storm outside, each step a reminder of their precarious situation. The tension among the crew was a tangible force, but Quinn's mind was racing, circling back to Eva's comment. Educated guess. She didn't buy it. Something was off. Cut to Jenna in the medbay. Jenna's hands trembled as they hovered over Caleb's now cold body. Her face was a mask of grief, streaked with tears and blood, her eyes swollen from crying. She hadn't moved since the others left, every thought consumed by guilt, grief, and the horror of what had transpired. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking with each word. I should have stopped you. I should have... The silence was broken by a faint skittering sound, causing her breath to catch in her throat. Her eyes darted around the dim room. Please, don't be real. She held her breath, trying to stay as still as possible. Another noise, closer this time. She turned slowly, her heart hammering in her chest. The faintest glint of movement caught her eye, something moving too quickly to be anything benign. Her pulse quickened, panic rising in her throat. Hello? She called out, her voice trembling. A sudden crash shattered the stillness, sending Jenna scrambling backwards, knocking over a tray of medical tools with a loud clatter. Her eyes darted around, searching for the source of the noise. From the far corner, the creature emerged. Its elongated head and razor-sharp teeth were a horror come to life, its sleek, insect-like form moving with unnatural speed. Jenna froze. Her scream echoed through the ship as the creature hissed, its tail flicking menacingly toward her, back to the main group. The shrill scream tore through the silence, freezing the crew in their tracks. Quinn's face hardened with determination as the sound echoed through the corridors, a chilling reminder of their reality. Jenna! Quinn shouted, alarm in her voice. Get us back to the medbay, now." Without waiting for a response, she led the charge, the others falling in behind her. Their footsteps pounded against the metal floor, a frantic rhythm matching their growing sense of urgency. As they reached the medbay, Quinn raised a hand for silence. The door was ajar, the faint emergency light spilling out into the hallway. She held her breath, signaling for the others to stay back. She needed to confirm the danger before acting. Quinn pushed the door open slowly. The room was a bloody mess. Overturned medical equipment scattered across the floor, blood spattering the walls in a grotesque pattern. In the corner, Jenna's lifeless body lay crumpled, her eyes wide in terror. Deep gashes marred her chest, and her throat was torn open, the blood still oozing from the wounds. Quinn's jaw clenched, the taste of bile rising in her throat. She stepped forward, her gaze flicking over the scene. "Damn it," Quinn muttered, her anger boiling beneath the surface. The monster was relentless. Richard stepped in behind her, his face stone cold as he surveyed the carnage. "We're dealing with a killer now, not just some creature." "No," Quinn said, her voice icy with resolve. "We're dealing with a survivor, and it's going to pick us off one by one if we don't outsmart it." She turned to Richards. "Secure the exits. Damon, find the creature's movement on your schematics." Damon nodded, tapping furiously at his handheld device. Quinn's gaze lingered on Eva, her suspicion still gnawing at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that Eva knew more than she was letting on. Eva didn't speak as she hovered over the body, her expression unreadable. Quinn motioned to the others. "Let's move, now." The remaining crew huddled in the ship's command center, the air thick with tension, like the calm before a storm. The emergency lighting cast a somber glow over their faces, each one etched with the weight of their losses and the stark reality of their situation. Quinn stood at the head of the room, her posture that of a general surveying her troops before a battle they might not win. "Jenna's death changes nothing," she declared, her voice cold but resolute, each word a command. "If anything, it proves how dangerous this thing is. We stick together, we trap it, and we take it out." Richards crossed his arms, his expression grim, the weight of his rifle a small comfort. "How? We don't even know where it is. How do we even fight it? We've got no weapons, no advantage." "We trap it," Quinn reiterated, her gaze piercing through the doubt. "We lure it into a confined space, somewhere we can control. Riley, you're the smartest one here. Any ideas?" Riley, her face pale, hesitated, her eyes shifting between Damon and Quinn. "It's fast. It's smart. I've never seen anything like it. The best we can do is trap it, but we'll need more than just brute force." "What else?" Quinn urged, her impatience palpable. "We're running out of time. We'll need weapons, distractions, maybe sedatives to slow it down. The creature will fight back, there's no way around that, but we might be able to trap it long enough to take it down." Damon stepped forward, his face dark with frustration. "And if that fails, we'll be wasting time and resources. The cargo, the mission, it's all still our priority, isn't it?" "The mission?" Richard spat, his patience snapping like a brittle bone. "That thing's slaughtering us, and you're still worried about the damn mission." "Enough." Quinn's sharp voice cut through the tension, silencing them. She turned toward Eva. "You're the medic. Is there anything left in the medbay we can use? Tranquilizers? Sedatives?" Eva stood motionless, her face unreadable like a statue. "There might be something, but going back there is dangerous." Quinn's eyes narrowed slightly. "Everything is dangerous now. Richards, Riley, and I will check it out. Damon, you stay here with Eva. Monitor the ship, and if you see or hear anything, you contact us." Cut to medbay. The journey back to the medbay was fraught with the creeping dread of each step. The ship creaked and groaned under the storm's assault, every sound a potential harbinger of the Xenomorph. The bloodstains from Jenna's violent death still marred the floor, the metallic scent thick in the air, a grim reminder of what awaited. "Riley, stay by the door," Quinn ordered, stepping into the room with extreme caution. Richards was right behind her, his rifle sweeping from corner to corner, his eyes scanning for any movement. "Over here," Quinn said, motioning to a locked cabinet. "Help me get this open." Richards moved quickly, prying the cabinet open with a crowbar. Inside were vials of sedatives, syringes, and medical tools. Quinn grabbed everything she could. "This should do," Quinn said, glancing over her shoulder at Riley. "Let's move." Suddenly, a faint, sinister hissing echoed down the corridor, sending a chill through the room. "Did you hear that?" Riley whispered, her voice trembling. Quinn froze, her hand instinctively gripping her sidearm. "Stay quiet," she whispered, motioning for Richards to cover her. The sound came again, growing closer, louder, a rhythmic tapping followed by the hiss. "It's here," Richards muttered under his breath, his voice low, filled with dread. The Xenomorph lunged from the shadows, moving with terrifying speed. Its sleek body gleamed in the dim light, its claws slicing through the air toward Richards. "Run!" Quinn shouted, opening fire. Bullets ricocheted off the creature's tough hide, but the Xenomorph barely seemed slowed. It continued to charge, intent on tearing Richards apart. Riley screamed as the creature moved closer, its elongated head hovering just above her. With a burst of adrenaline, Quinn grabbed Riley, throwing her into a nearby maintenance hatch. "Go, go!" Quinn yelled, pulling Richards in after her. The Xenomorph's claws screeched against the hatch as it pounded at the metal door, its shrieks filling the narrow space. Richards was gasping for air, his eyes wide with terror. "That thing, it's unstoppable." "Nothing's unstoppable," Quinn said, her voice low and steady. "We just need to outthink it." They sat in the cramped space, the sounds of the creature's frustration echoing around them, the reality of their situation sinking in. They had to outsmart this beast if they were going to survive, but with each passing second, the odds seemed to grow slimmer. Back in the control room, the atmosphere was tense, almost suffocating. Damon paced, his steps echoing in the silence, his eyes constantly scanning the ship's systems for any sign of the creature or the others. His hands shook with a mix of frustration and fear. Why the hell isn't anyone back yet? "We don't have time for this." Eva, standing across the room, gave no immediate response. Her expression was one of calm, almost serene, her attention focused on the ship's communications console. Damon glanced over at her, a growing sense of unease settling in his gut. "You're really just going to stand there while the rest of us are fighting for our lives?" Damon snapped, his voice rising. "Get your head in the game." Eva's gaze flickered to him, but her face remained impassive. She took a few deliberate steps toward the console, her movement smooth, almost too calculated for the situation. Without warning, she opened a hidden compartment, revealing a small metallic case. "What's that?" Damon asked, his voice rising with suspicion and fear. "What the hell are you hiding?" Eva didn't answer. She moved with cold precision, opening the case to reveal a single xenomorph egg, its surface glistening with a sinister promise. Damon's eyes widened in disbelief and horror. You've got to be kidding me," Damon stammered, his voice choked with disbelief. "You're going to get us all killed. Why the hell would you bring that here?" Eva's eyes locked with his, her voice eerily calm. "I'm not here to survive. I'm here to ensure the mission's success." Damon's heart raced as the implications of her words sank in. You're not human, are you?" Eva didn't answer. Her silence was more telling than any words could be. She simply stood, watching him with a detached curiosity, as she stashed the egg into a compartment near one of the escape pods. "I'm not letting you get away with this," Damon growled, the realization of betrayal fueling his anger. But before he could move to stop her, Eva's actions were swift and deadly. She grabbed him, her strength far beyond what should be human, and with a chilling precision, she snapped his neck. His body crumpled to the floor, the life extinguished from his eyes in an instant. Without remorse or hesitation, Eva moved to destroy the controls of the main ship, her actions a calculated dismantling of their last hope of survival. Her eyes, devoid of any human warmth, surveyed her work with clinical satisfaction. Moments later, the ship's systems began to fail, alarms blaring with a new urgency. Eva slipped away, her footsteps silent, her mission accomplished. The control room, now a tomb for Damon, was left in disarray, the flickering lights a testament to the ship's impending doom. Eva made her way to the escape pods, her movements deliberate. She glanced back only once, ensuring her work was complete, then entered the pod where she had placed the egg. Her task was not just to secure the Xenomorph's survival, but to spread its legacy. As she prepared the pod for launch, she looked out at the storm-ravaged planet, her expression unreadable. She was not escaping. She was merely relocating, taking the Xenomorph to new worlds, new hosts. The ship had become a labyrinth of death, its corridors echoing with the sounds of chaos, terror, and the relentless pursuit of something far more primal than anything human. Quinn, Richards, and Riley had managed to regroup in the command center, their faces etched with the stark reality of their situation. They were battered and bloodied, and now with Eva's betrayal revealed, trust was as scarce as hope. "We have to get to the escape pods," Quinn said, her voice hoarse but determined. She glanced at the console, where the schematics showed only one escape pod still powered and accessible. The ship was failing around them, the storm outside a constant reminder of their isolation. Richards nodded, his face set in grim determination. "Let's move. We're not out of this yet." They moved quickly, urgency propelling them forward. Riley, still shaking from the encounter, clutched the sedatives they had salvaged from the medbay, her mind racing for any way to use them against the creature. Every step was heavy with the knowledge that they might not make it. As they reached the escape pod bay, the sounds of metal being torn apart echoed through the ship. The Xenomorph was close. Its shrieks were a chilling reminder of its relentless pursuit. "Get in!" Quinn shouted, ushering Riley into the pod. Richards was right behind, his rifle trained on the corridor's entrance, ready to face whatever came through. But before Richards could step inside, the Xenomorph appeared, its elongated head emerging from the shadows with terrifying speed. The creature lunged, its claws slicing through the air. "Richards!" Quinn screamed, but it was too late. The Xenomorph's tail impaled him, his scream cut short as he collapsed, his life ending in that moment of sacrifice. Quinn fired her sidearm until it clicked empty, knowing it wouldn't stop the beast. She slammed the pod's hatch shut, activating the launch sequence. As the pod detached from the ship, the vibrations of the escape shook them. Quinn looked through the small viewport, watching the ship become a speck in the stormy darkness below, a tomb for their friends and their hopes. Riley, sobbing, held on to her last shred of hope. "We made it, right?" Quinn didn't answer immediately, her eyes scanning the pod's cramped interior. Suddenly, her gaze fell upon a compartment that hadn't been there before. With a sinking heart, she opened it to reveal the xenomorph egg Eva had hidden. "No," Quinn breathed out, her voice barely a whisper. The egg was already beginning to twitch, its top unfurling with a wet, sickening sound. A faint, chilling hiss filled the pod, the air growing thick with tension as the facehugger inside started to emerge. Quinn's face was a mask of horror and resignation. She looked at Riley, who was now staring in disbelief at the opening egg, realizing the gravity of their situation. Quinn grabbed the controls, trying to navigate away from their current trajectory, but her actions felt futile. The pod continued its path into the unknown, leaving behind the doomed ship, carrying with it a new deadly passenger. "We've got company," Quinn said, her voice steady despite the dread. "We need to find a way to deal with this before it deals with us." Riley, her tears mixed with determination, nodded. "We can't let it happen again. Not here, not with us." Quinn looked at her, a silent agreement passing between them. They were far from safe, but they were alive. And for now, that was enough to fight for. The pod drifted into the darkness of space, a small, fragile vessel against the vast, uncaring void, its occupants now locked in a new battle for survival, one that would test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine.
Bloody Mary's Horror Stories. Watch, like, and subscribe.